Dear students, now we are starting your first year, this DSC-1 course, which is for English core or major or minor students. And the first story, that is uh, Deliverance, right? So Deliverance is written by Munshi Premchand. Deliverance, which actually means Sadgati, and it was written in Hindi, and this is an English translation for you. That is in your course, right? So the title of the story is Deliverance, and the writer is Munshi Premchand, right? Then let's know a little about the author. The author, as I told you, Munshi Premchand. Uh, Actually, it's not the real name of this author. His real name is Dhanpat Rai Shrivastava, right? So it was his pen name. Pen name means the writers, they may choose their uh, another name for themselves, okay, under which they write all their literary creations, right? तो कोई भी अपने नाम से नहीं, तो एक पेन नेम मतलब वो लिखने वाला नाम, जैसे लेखक का नाम. So his real name is Dhanpat Rai Shrivastava, and this Munshi Premchand is the pen name of this famous Hindi Urdu writer. And he's considered as the emperor of Indian novelists. He has written so many novels, more than 12 novels, and hundreds of short stories. And Deliverance, which is there in your course and which we are going to study right after this, it is among those short stories which were originally written in Hindi, and as I told you earlier also, that it has been translated into English, and that's why you find it in your course. So the original title of Deliverance is Sadgati. Sadgati, which means Sadgati, मतलब अच्छी गति का मतलब होता है last that journey or the last state, which means salvation or deliverance, salvation, mukti जिसको कहते हैं, from the worldly and attaining the transcendental state where there is no rebirth. Okay, जैसे हम in our religion, in Hindu religion, there is this concept of death and rebirth. So ये जीवन और मरण का जो चक्र है वो चलता रहता है, और इससे मुक्ति पाने को मोक्ष कहते हैं, और that is what salvation or sadgati कहते हैं, right? So this is the title of the story. So this story basically is a criticism of the Hindu society, where the caste system rules the society, above all rules. And though going by its title, you may get a little confused, क्योंकि एक positive title है, Sadgati, but what happens in the story is just the opposite. उल्टा ही होता है उसका, वो दुर्गति कह लो उसको. तो इस तरह से ironical है इसका जो title है. So everywhere in life, the main hero, protagonist means the lead character, right? So lead character को बोलते हैं protagonist, right? Protagonist. So protagonist means the main character or the lead character. So everywhere he finds his life in difficulty, and his ending is also very terrible. So we will learn the story, okay? So Deliverance, before we go to the story, let me introduce you to the main characters. First is Dukhi. Dukhi, who is the lead character, or you can call him the protagonist of the story. He the entire story, moves around him. He is the protagonist, okay? Protagonist, Gonist, matlab the lead character or the central character, that is Dukhi. And we have his wife Jhuria also, who plays a little role in the story. And along with that, there is Dhania. Dhania, who is Dukhi's daughter, okay, who is, the earlier times, these girls used to be married at a very young age. So Dhania has come of age, and Dukhi wants to, set a date for Dhania's marriage. Right, then there is Ghasiram, is another character who is a Brahmin basically, and plays the role of an antagonist, or you may call him a villain also in the story. Right, so Ghasiram, Pandit Ghasiram. Then we also have Pandit Ghasiram's wife, who has some role in the story. And then there is a Gond. The Gond, his name is Chikhuri. His name is Chikhuri. So you must remember these names. और ये दिस इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, बहुत ज़रूरी है आप लोगों को कि इंग्लिश लिटरेचर जब आप पढ़ते हैं तो यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड everything, the storyline, how the story moves, who are the characters, how the characters are connected, how the incidents are connected, कहानी कैसे आगे बढ़ती है, यही होता है बस कहानी में. और तो Chikhuri is the Gond, he is a tribal. Okay, so many times I have seen in answer sheets, many people, many students, when so who was Chikhuri, तो बोलते हैं he is Dukhi's wife. So सारा ये इधर पूरा ही गड़बड़ी कर दिया, वो एक आदमी को औरत बना दिया, तो बहुत मजाक जैसी चीज़ हो जाती है. सो एटलीस्ट यू शुड पे अटेंशन टू द मेन कैरेक्टर्स, लीड जो कैरेक्टर्स हैं, एंड हाउ दे आर कनेक्टेड टू ईच अदर, दैट यू शुड नो, हाउ द स्टोरी मूव्स, द प्लॉट. ओके, सो ऑल दिस शुड बी नोन टू यू, राइट. तो आप लोग कम से कम ये वीडियो देखने के बाद यू विल नॉट कमिट दिस मिस्टेक, चिखुरी को आप दुखी की वाइफ बना देंगे, राइट. ऐसा नहीं करना, ठीक है. नाउ, so these are the characters. Once again, Dukhi, the main hero or the protagonist of this story. Jhuria is wife, Dhania is daughter, Ghasiram, who is a Pandit Ghasiram, is a Brahmin, and his wife, and the Gond Chikhuri, who is a tribal. Right. So, I'll just show you the story in pictures. This is the opening scene of the story, where you see, about two people, husband and wife, probably, they are doing something. The man has got a broom in his hand, and the woman, both look anxious, and she is she's trying to do something. So in olden times, in earlier times, when we didn't have these concrete houses, जो आजकल आपको पक्के घर मिलते हैं, फर्श होता है, तो पुराने ज़माने में ज़्यादा पुराना नहीं, हमारे ज़माने में ही. So we used to have, कच्चा houses which used to be plastered with cow dung. गाय के गोबर से उनकी वो पुताई होती थी. So the woman is exactly doing the same thing, So there is an anticipation in this story. You can read this picture. There is a kind of some kind of anticipation on their faces, some kind of, you can say, tension. But one thing is there, that they are preparing their house for something. कुछ ना कुछ स्पेशल होने वाला है भाई, जब कोई फेस्टिवल है या कोई आदमी आने वाला है, कोई मेहमान आने वाला है, तो इस तरह से एंटिसिपेशन है इस कहानी में. You see two characters, we will name them. One is Dukhi, and his wife Juria. Okay, Dukhi and Juria. So they are talking over something, and also at the same time they are preparing their house for the arrival or visit of someone. Who is that someone? That someone is actually Pandit Ghasiram. So Dukhi and Juria, their daughter Dhania, she has come of age. उसकी उम्र हो चुकी है, तो दुखी को चाहता है कि जो पंडित जी हैं वो आके उसकी जो सगाई की जो डेट है उसको फिक्स कर दें, to fix an auspicious date for the betrothal ceremony of his daughter. So they are worried, and the Brahmin is a very holy person in the village. He is regarded very high, so they don't want to leave anything dirty. So that is why they are busy preparing their house for the visit of Pandit Ghasiram, right? So that's why you see the man with the broom in his hand, and the woman, with the cow dung trying to plaster the floor. So whom they are anticipating? They are anticipating the visit of Pandit Ghasiram. Why Pandit Ghasiram? आपको कहानी में यही पूछना है, क्यों, कब, कैसे, कब, क्यों, ऐसा, क्या हुआ, क्यों हुआ, कैसे हुआ, कब हुआ, बस दैट्स ऑल. So क्यों, why do they want to invite Pandit Ghasiram? Oh, because they want to fix an auspicious date. Auspicious date किसकी? शुभ जो तिथि एक निर्धारित करनी है. कौन करेगा? पंडित जी करेंगे. पंडित जी करेंगे तो दे पंडित जी विल हैव टू कम टू देयर हाउस. सो दैट इज व्हाई दे आर getting their house ready for the visit of Pandit Ghasiram. फिर और कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, like they don't have any anything for the Pandit to offer where he can sit. They do not even have a cot in their house. So uh, so when they discuss that where they are going to make the Brahmin sit, so his wife, Duki's wife Juria, she suggests that at least you go to the village headman's house and borrow a cot from their uh, house, and we can return it later. But Duki, he gets annoyed at this suggestion, which is given by his wife Juria. He says that those people, they don't, like their things to be touched by us because they think they become polluted. So you are expecting them to lend me a cot. They even don't like to give a pot of water from their house. तो वो कहता है कि तुम कैसा ऐसा बेहूदी बात कर रही हो कि वो आदमी जो कभी एक पानी का लोटा देने के लिए राजी नहीं है, वो हमारे को खटिया कहाँ से दे देंगे जिसमें हम पंडित जी को बिठाएंगे. सो दे डिस्कस ऑल दीज अरेंजमेंट्स एंड फाइनली जो सेटलमेंट होती है वो ये है कि दुखी, he asks his wife Juria to make a mat of mahua leaves. Mahua leaves. Mahua is a tree. महुआ की वो देसी शराब भी बनती है और बड़े बड़े पत्ते होते हैं उसके. तो ये विच इज़ फाउंड इन प्लेन एरियाज, यूपी, बिहार, ओडिशा, right? So he asks her to pick some mahua leaves and make a mat for him, and at the same time he also instructs her to arrange all that offering mean dakshina जो पंडित जी को देनी है, that is to be given to Pandit Ghasiram. So he asks her to go to the village merchant, and he cautions her not to touch anything by her own hand, कि कुछ भी अपने हाथ से नहीं छूना. टेक द हेल्प ऑफ दैट झुरी, someone who is not from their lower caste. Take the help of that lady, and collect everything in which there is some flour, atta hai, there is rice, then an offering of 25 paisa. So everything, salt, that is to be offered to the Pandit while he visits their house. So this is the pretext. This is how you can interpret this. So now here you can see that Pandit, because Dukhi is going to the house of Pandit Ghasiram to invite him to fix an auspicious date for the betrothal ceremony of his daughter. So he cannot go empty-handed because otherwise Brahmin may get angry and he may not agree to come with him for fixing the date of his daughter's marriage. So that will be a big problem for him. So because you can understand the poverty of this man, that he has nothing else except a bundle of grass which he carries on his head as an offering for Pandit Ghasiram, because he cannot go empty-handed early in the morning and Brahmin may get angry and he may not at all agree to visiting his house. So this is, in this picture you see Dukhi. He sets off early in the morning because he is afraid that otherwise Brahmin may go off somewhere else, because he is a village Brahmin or village Pandit. So he has a lot of clients who are waiting for him. So just to catch him right in the time, in the nick of the time, he starts off early and he doesn't even have anything to eat. So because he is in a hurry. क्यों जल्दी में? Because otherwise Brahmin may go off somewhere else. सो दिस इज हाउ द स्टोरी मूव्स, प्लॉट। अब वो बिना खाए क्यों आ गया, तो क्योंकि उसको जल्दी थी। जल्दी क्यों थी, कि पंडित जी कहीं जा सकते थे। सो दैट इज व्हाट, दैट्स व्हाई ही सेट्स ऑफ अर्ली, कैरिंग अ बंडल ऑफ ग्रास ओवर हिज हेड। So when he reaches Pandit Ghasiram's house, you see that Pandit, who is busy in his daily routine in a temple in his home. Okay, he takes out the idol of the god, bathes it, decks it with the flowers, and then burns those incense sticks. And then he chants some holy mantras, and then he, rubs that sandalwood and makes a paste of it, and then he takes a small kind of small piece of wood, and he draws fine circles on his shoulders, and some lines on his forehead, and that gives him a kind of very charming kind of outlook. So after this, he drinks a lota of bhang, okay, which he has prepared for himself, and after that he comes out of his house, and when he uh, comes in front, he finds Dukhi with that bundle of grass on his head. So, then he asks, "Oh, Dukhya, you have come so early in the morning. Why so?" So then Dukhi tells him that, yes, I need your help in, setting a date for betrothal ceremony of my daughter. So then he asks him, where should I put the grass? So then he says that he should put it in front of the cow. And then he's sensing an opportunity, here, because Dukhi seems to be easily exploitative, and Pandit Ghasiram, sensing an opportunity here, he gives him a series of tasks. First is cleaning the house in front of the door, and then plastering it with cow dung, and then shifting hay from the barn to the cowshed. And last one, that is the toughest job. It is splitting a log of wood, on which log of wood is quite thick and strong, and many people have already tried their hand at it. Right. So after giving him all these instructions, Pandit Ghasiram walks into his house to have some rest, and he says that when you are finished, then I'll go off with you to your home, right? So Dukhi, but he is exhausted, but it takes a lot of time for him to shift that hay from the barn to the cowshed. Okay, so it is already afternoon, and you know that already Dukhi was in a hurry, didn't have anything to eat. So he is feeling exhausted, and there's nothing, not a morsel of food in his uh, stomach, right? And then finally, there is also one incident where Dukhi, he goes to not Dukhi, he goes to his friend Chikuri, who, seeing Dukhi struggling, with cutting that log of wood, Chikuri feels that it is, the heartlessness of Brahmin, the Pandit Ghasiram, that, he is not asked himself, he is not asked Dukhi even to have something, and he has employed him just without any wages. And because this log of wood is very thick and hard, and Dukhi himself is very lean, and he is very tired. He didn't have anything, any food. So Chikuri, he is outside the caste system. So he asks him to stop doing this and go and have something to eat. But Dukhi, he cannot earn the anger, or he cannot make his master angry. So he sticks on with his job. Chikuri, who knows that it won't be possible for Dukhi to split this log of wood. However, he offers him his a smoke a pipe, and when Duki needs some fire, so he goes onto the veranda of the house of Pandit Ghasiram, who is having his lunch inside, and he asks for a little fire from the kitchen. On hearing his voice, Dukhi, this Ghasiram's wife, she is very angry at him, and she hurls those burning, fire, that coal burning, the burning coals. She flings those burning coals, and some of it falls on the head of Dukhi, and he hurriedly takes them out, and he gets burned also. So, but he never raises his voice against this also. He believes that it is because of his sinful act of walking into the veranda of such a uh, such a pious man, such a clean man, that he is punished for his act. So then he continues the job, but it is really tough for him. Ultimately, he falls. He feels exhausted, completely exhausted, and at this moment, Pandit Ghasiram walks out of his house, and he asks him to put in all his power, all his effort uh, in splitting that log of wood. So Duki, there is some kind of lightning speed which comes to his body, and with all his might, he starts striking that log of wood, and he's in a kind of delirium, एक तरह से बेहोशी की हालत में, और फाइनली he makes the final he makes the final uh, whack on that wood, and the wood gets split. With this, the axe falls off his hands, and at the same time Dukhi also falls on the ground, and uh, so Pandit Ghasiram is very happy, and he walks into the house, telling him that I'll be just be putting on my clothes, and we'll be off to your home very soon. So when Pandit Ghasiram returns, he finds Dukhi, lying on the floor without any motion still. Then he walks a little closer to him, and then after calling his name so many times, when Dukhi does not respond, then he believes that Dukhi is dead, and he tells Panditain, that his wife, that village tanner is dead here at our doorstep, and what to do now. So the his wife tells him that just go to the settlement, to the tanner settlement, and tell them to carry his corpse away, and that's all. Why you're worrying? But Chikuri, who is Gond, who is outside the caste system, he doesn't fear the caste system, and he has witnessed all this. So he goes, before Pandit Ghasiram to the tanner settlement, and tells them not to touch the body of Dukhi, because he believes that he has been murdered by the heartlessness of Pandit Ghasiram. Right. So he wants them, the villagers, to carry back his body to the village, because otherwise the police will nab them. So that's the role Chikuri plays. So when Pandit Ghasiram walks into the village, the tanner's village, so he tells them to pick the body of this dead body of Dukhi, but they have already been warned by Chikuri, so none of them they come with Pandit Ghasiram. So now what happens? The body starts stinking now, and the only path to the village well, goes via the house of this Pandit Ghasiram, and it is the village of all Brahmins. So their women cannot go to the well to fetch water when there is a dead body, and that too of low caste tenor, lying nearby. So this creates a lot of trouble, a lot of problem for Pandit Ghasiram, And finally, because he cannot touch the body of a lower caste tenor, so finally what he does is he hatches a plan. He makes a plan whereby he gets a rope, ties a noose around it, and he flings that rope onto the one leg of the dead body, and then he slowly pulls it towards himself. So the knot is tied, and finally, Pandit Ghasiram, in the darkness, he drags the body, this dead body, and finally throws it off out in the open where the dead bodies of animals are thrown, discarded, and when he soon returns home and he bathes himself, and pours Ganga Jal all around the house and himself too. And this is how the story ends. His body, the dead body of Dukhi, is left out in the open for these vultures and other these birds and animals of prey to feast upon. So this is the very pathetic end which comes to this Dukhi's life. So this story is divided into sections. Section 1, we are introduced to Dukhi and his wife Juria. Both of them, as you saw in the first picture, they are making preparations to welcome the Brahmin. Dukhi is a tenor who is the traditional Hindu social order or untouchable, and Dukhi is a tenor. People who make work with the hides or the skins of the dead animals, and they are considered as untouchables in the past. So their job is to work with the hides, and they belong to the lowest strata of the society, lowest level of the society. And his name was given Dukhi, sorrowful. Dukhi means जिसको दुख होता है, sorrowful. तो वो his parents might have given him the name to keep the evil away. तो कई बार आपने देखा होगा कैसे नाम मिलेंगे कि ताकि पहले से ही नाम दुखी रख दिया ताकि वो दुख बेचारा उसके पास आए ही नहीं, कि पहले से ही दुखी है भाई, इसके पास किस लिए जाना, ठीक है। तो इसलिए उनके पेरेंट्स ने रखा होगा उसका नाम, बट his name itself becomes a synonym of all that tragedy which goes on in his life. So in the first scene, the Dukhi is sweeping and his wife is plastering the cow dung on the floor, and that's what people used to do in earlier times. And then there is a discussion between Dukhi and his wife, which is around making their house fit for the visit of a holy man, the Brahmin. I have already explained it to you. And the caste hierarchies होता है जो structure होता है caste का, कि उसमें कौन ऊपर कौन बड़ा कौन छोटा, so that no one would give them a pot of water. जो मैंने बताया कि वो जैसे his wife suggests that you should go to village headman's house and ask for a cot on loan. तो वो कहता है कि भाई जो पीने के लिए पानी का लोटा नहीं देते वो तुमको अपनी चारपाई खटिया कैसे दे देंगे. So what they decide is they will make a mat of mawa leaves for the Brahmin to sit when he visits. So then there is some kind of offering also that is to be given to the Pandit, because he cannot go empty-handed. So that is why they have to offer food on a leaf once again. So then he also advises his wife Juria to buy all that offering, so dakshina, from the village merchant, गांव के जो दुकानदार है उससे, without touching that. She may take the help of someone else. एक गोंड गर्ल जो ट्राइबल गर्ल है उसकी मदद ले सकती है, वो खुद नहीं छुएगी कुछ भी. And because the tribes, they do not belong to the Hindu fold, and that is why they are outside the rigid caste laws. तो जो tribes हैं, they are outside the caste structure, इसलिए they are not governed by the rigid caste laws. So Dukhi, he makes a list of offering जो दक्षिणा देनी है पंडित जी को. भले ही वो गरीब है, but he tells her to have everything, so that the Pandit Ghasiram, is happy. Then he leaves with a bundle of grass as a present for पंडित घासीराम. देन सेक्शन 2 में क्या होता है, देन पंडित घासीराम के घर में पहुंच जाता है, एंड there we are shown that how Pandit Ghasiram is devoted to God, and the ritual he performs, as I told you. And Pandit Ghasiram, after returning from all those rituals, he finds Dukhi at his door, and Dukhi जो है वो पूरा दंडवत प्रोस्ट्रेट होता है, जैसे वो पूरा लेट के जो प्रणाम करते हैं, दंडवत जिसको कहते हैं, वो पूरा पंडित जी को देके पूरा ज़मीन पे लेट जाता है और उनको प्रणाम करता है. एंड देन दुखी, व्हेन ही आस्क्ड अबाउट द पर्पस ऑफ हिज विजिट, then Dukhi wants the Pandit to visit his house and pick on an auspicious date for his daughter's betrothal, right? This is another word for you. Then Pandit Ghasiram ko mauka mil jata hai, gets an opportunity, so he sets off Dukhi on certain jobs. Errands mean the household jobs, जो छोटे मोटे काम करके उन पे उसको लगा देता है, ठीक है. सो उनमें क्या है, प्लास्टर द फ्लोर ऑफ हिज सिटिंग रूम विद काउ डंग, उनकी बैठक का कमरे में गोबर से लिपाई करना है. एंड देन स्प्लिट द वुड एंड टेक आउट द हे एंड पुट इन द बार्न, जो हे को शिफ्ट करना है, ठीक है. देन Dukhi, he obeys the orders, but as I told you, he had nothing since morning and he was terribly hungry. So Brahmin, he does not offer him any food. So Dukhi, decides to smoke a pipe, and he walks into the house of that Chikuri, his gond friend. Okay. And he asks for a little fire from the Pandit's kitchen. But the Pandit's wife, she throws those burning coals, and some of them they fall on his head. And Dukhi, he doesn't feel bad about it. Rather, he feels sorry for himself that he calls himself a destitute, a person who does not have common sense, and and that's why he feels that Panditine did the right thing, by throwing the coals on his head. So that is the difference between the attitude of Chikuri and Dukhi. Then Panditine feels a little pity for Dukhi, because while she was throwing the piece of coal, it almost fell on his head. Okay, so if she asks Pandit Ghasiram if they could give him something to eat, but after a little deliberation, after a little talk, they decide that it is not proper for them to feed Dukhi, and that is why he keeps on working without any food. Okay, so then he sets about the job of splitting the wood after smoking the pipe, and Gond, who is Chikuri's friend, so he is sympathetic towards him, and he asks him if he had anything to eat, but he advises Dukhi to give up the work, and because he is not being paid for this. But Dukhi cannot quit this job, because otherwise Pandit Ghasiram may not visit his house. So then he starts shifting the hay from the store to the fodder bin. He's tired, hungry, exhausted, falls asleep, and in the meanwhile, the Pandit, after a nice nap, comes out and finds Dukhi asleep with that basket on his head. So instead of being thankful for the service given by Dukhi, he starts scolding him and his caste, and he also threatens Dukhi that if he does not complete the work, then he will not fix that auspicious day, and then the marriage will be a failure or disaster. So because of this, there is a mixture of fear, respect, and a kind of awe in the heart of Dukhi, and he gets into a state of delirium. एक बेहोशी जैसी स्थिति में आ जाता है, एंड ही स्टार्ट्स स्ट्राइकिंग द एक्स सो हार्ड, and finally, uh, he is dead. He dies. He falls dead on the ground, and there is a complication in the story because low caste tenor has died in Brahmin's village, and the Gond, the Chikuri, he takes the first step, that he goes to the village of tenors, and he cautions them, he alerts them not to touch the body of Dukhi, otherwise they may get into trouble with the police. Okay, so then last section, Dukhi's corpse lies in front of Brahmin's house because no one would touch it, no one from the Brahmin village. The tenor women, they who have come okay, near to that Brahmin's house, they keep on crying and weeping late into the night, and the dead body starts stinking now. But uh, after an uneasy night, Pandit Ghasiram decides to settle the matter himself. He manages to get a noose. Okay, noose is a kind of knot which is tied around the dead man's feet, and drags the dead body, the corpse, to the fields outside the village. And he gets back, takes a bath, and does his purification rites, like sprinkling the Ganga Jal, around the house or in the house. And the abandoned body of Dukhi, becomes a food for the scavengers, jackals, kites, dogs, and crows. And the stories the story ends with an extremely ironic comment. This was the reward of a whole life of devotion, service, and faith. So you can understand, Dukhi, who had always been devoted, who had always been servile, who had always been a faithful servant in the service of his master, that is Pandit Ghasiram. He did not even have had a last decent rights, and that is why the title of the story is ironical in itself. So you can also uh, understand the critical summary. So basically, this story deals with the caste relationships in the society. So, Sadgati, already I have explained, this means salvation in death, or uh, मोक्ष की प्राप्ति इसको कहते हैं. We see, how caste laws in the story that result in the death of Dukhi. There is terrible suffering of the lower castes under the caste system. And in the opening section, we are introduced to the main characters and the settings, and also the tension and hypocrisy which is present in a caste-based society. So while Dukhi is considered as untouchable, there is hypocrisy here. Whose touch pollutes whatever he touches. तो एक तरफ तो ये है कि वो जो भी छुएगा वो अछूत वो मतलब वो इम्प्योर हो जाएगा, वो अशुद्ध हो जाएगा. दूसरी तरफ ये है कि वही पंडित जी, he accepts the offering and gifts which are given by Dukhi. So Dukhi lives on the margins of the society. और सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम यही is he has no rights but only obligations and duties. And at the same time, Dukhi is also a willing partner in the continuation of this system because he does not resist, he does not raise his voice, he is servile, and we can understand because of the situation. Then also it exposes the heartlessness of the caste system. There is the heartlessness of the Brahmin couple, and the servile mentality of Dukhi, and the exploitative nature of caste system is exposed when Dukhi visits Brahmin's house. Brahmin is in the business of religion, and he carries out those self-decoration and other rituals to please God. But Brahmin is kind of business for him, and Dukhi, on the other hand, does not understand anything about these rituals. But he has got a servile mindset, and he believes that Pandit is as holy as God. And that also points to the mental slavery of Dukhi, which becomes clear through his actions. He is mentally, occupied with this caste system, mental subjugation, and he considers Pandit as godly and the sandalwood markings on his round figure, they appear godly to him. And Dukhi, he does not have any self-respect, and because he is totally, oppressed by this caste system that is got into his psyche, his mindset, and he considers Brahmin as the most, the holiest and the cleanest people, and he considers himself as unclean and impure, right? So this points to the mental slavery of Dukhi, and it is clear when he refuses to blame anyone except himself when he is abused and humiliated. And lastly, it also shows the cunningness and greed of Pandit Ghasiram. So you know that when Dukhi requests Pandit to visit his house, so he gives him a lot of tasks, right? So this shows that how cunning Pandit Ghasiram is. He is greedy and hard-hearted, and he not only exploits Dukhi, but also fails to treat him as a human being. And his attitude towards Dukhi is inhuman. And even his wife, she has no sympathy for the poor Dukhi, and she hurls abuses at him when he enters the veranda, asking for fire, and she throws the burning coal on his head. And also there is a contrasting characters of Dukhi and Chikuri. Dukhi, who is low caste tenor, who is in the grips of this caste system. On the other hand, Gond is an outsider. He is a tribal. He does not belong to the Hindu fold. That is why he is outside the caste system, and he is able to see the exploitation and cunningness of this holy Pandit. And he also makes this Dukhi aware of this, and he asks him to have courage to go against it or talk against it. But Dukhi, he cannot raise his voice, and because Dukhi has a problem, because Pandit Ghasiram has already threatened him that if he doesn't go to his house to fix an auspicious date, then the wedding of his daughter will be a failure. So he cannot rebel. He cannot think of rebellion against the Pandit. So on the other hand, Dukhi's pitiable condition evokes no pity in the Pandit's heart. Dukhi, with an empty stomach, tries to complete all the tasks assigned to him, splitting, which is a really hard task for Dukhi, who is not used to cutting wood, and especially this was the toughest of all, because many devotees have already tried their hand at it, and they all of them had failed. Moreover, Dukhi was the grass cutter. He did not have much experience in wood chopping, wood cutting. So ultimately, he pays with his life in the attempt to split the heart axe, because he doesn't want to displease his master, Pandit Ghasiram. And the tragic death of Dukhi uh, does not move the Brahmin. His dead body lies in front of Pandit Ghasiram's house like a dead animal, and there is an insensitivity of the Brahmin is revealed when he is more worried about the pollution rather than trying to give this man a decent last rites or a burial. And this becomes more terrible when we consider the fact that Dukhi died while serving Pandit Ghasiram. But Pandit Ghasiram, he is more worried about the pollution which the dead body is causing rather than giving this man a decent last rites. So Dukhi, literally he dies a dog's death, and there's a deep irony in the ending of this story. What Dukhi could not achieve in all life, he manages to do that in his death. Pandit Ghasiram, who considers the touch of Dukhi polluting, is forced to drag the dead body of Dukhi himself. Right? So this was possible only due to the effort of Chikuri, the Gond, but the price was a dog's death for Dukhi, whose dead body is left in the field to be consumed by the scavengers, the kites, the vultures, the fox, and the dogs. Okay, so this is how this tragic end of the story happens. So hope you enjoy this story, though it is a tragic story, yet exposes the hypocrisy and heartlessness of this caste.